New Lagos never slept. The city pulsed with the rhythm of electric drums and floating taxis, its skyline a living heartbeat of steel and light. From the balcony of the Echo Tower, Darius Cole watched it all. The shimmer of holograms over the lagoon, the vendors shouting through the humid night, and the endless hum of a civilization that refused to die quietly. Humanity had clawed its way from chains to the stars, and tonight, Darius was about to risk everything that Climb had built. A voice crackled through his earpiece. "You sure about this, bro? Ain't no turning back once you hit that stream." Darius smirked. "Ain't that the point, Tariq?" His best friend's laugh came through like static. "You really gon' marry an alien princess on a dare?" Darius's reflection in the glass looked calm, but his pulse said otherwise. The stream counter on his wristband ticked up. 3 million viewers, climbing fast. Across the galaxy, people waited to see if the black engineer from New Lagos would truly propose to a Seraphi princess, the telepathic alien who'd called humanity an emotional parasite just days ago. "She said humans were beneath her," Darius said quietly. "She laughed at us. So yeah, I'm gonna make her eat those words." He turned to the hovering holocam, squared his shoulders, and activated the feed. "Princess Zir-Athia of Seraphi," he said, voice carrying across space through the interlink. "You said no human was worthy of your kind. Then prove it. Marry me." For a heartbeat, silence drowned the universe. Then laughter, alien and sharp, rippled through the speakers. The princess appeared as a hologram, tall, silver-skinned, eyes like distant storms. She leaned forward, her voice melodic yet cutting. "You amuse me, human. Do you even understand what you offer?" "I offer you a chance to see what humanity really is," Darius replied, every word deliberate. "Courage, passion, imperfection, everything you think makes us weak." The crowd in the plaza below erupted. Thousands of onlookers projected the event into the night sky, holographic fireworks bursting in defiance of the alien's arrogance. Zir-Athia tilted her head, assessing him like one might a curious experiment. "Very well," she said, "on one condition. If you disappoint me, your entire species will know what it means to challenge the Seraphi. Deal." The word left Darius's mouth before doubt could stop it. The holo vanished. Tariq cursed in his ear. "Man, you just declared intergalactic war for clout." Darius laughed, but his chest ached. Not for clout, for respect. He shut off the comm, letting the noise of New Lagos drown his thoughts. The streets below were alive with sound, hoverbikes, market songs, and the soulful cry of a saxophonist playing beneath a levitating bridge. In this chaos, he felt something sacred. Humanity was flawed, messy, beautiful, and worth every risk. Back inside, reporters filled the atrium, shouting questions about the proposal. Darius brushed past them, his long coat catching the neon light. "Mr. Cole! Are you serious about marrying an alien?" He didn't stop walking. Dead serious. When he reached the elevator, he exhaled slowly. The adrenaline began to fade, leaving behind something raw, fear, maybe, or anticipation. He thought of his mother's words, spoken before she passed. "Our people survived the impossible, Darius. Remember that when they tell you you're less than." He pressed his palm against the glass, feeling the thrum of the city through it. "I'll make her see us," he whispered, "even if it breaks me." Above, the stars shimmered like distant witnesses. Somewhere among them, a princess was laughing, unaware that the man she mocked was about to change her life. And hers, his. The feed replayed across every screen on Earth and beyond. A human had just challenged royalty. A black man from New Lagos had just dared to defy an empire. And the galaxy would never be the same again. If you want to know what happens next, hit subscribe, because this story's about to take you light years away. The following morning, the entire planet buzzed with disbelief. Overnight, Darius Cole had become both a hero and a fool. Every newsfeed in the United Earth Coalition ran the same headline. "Engineer from New Lagos challenges alien royalty to a marriage pact." Some called it bravery, others lunacy. But by dawn, an official transmission from the Seraphi Empire confirmed it. Princess Zirathia had accepted. Her arrival was announced with a thunder that wasn't sound, but vibration, resonating in the bones of every living being. Over the horizon, a vessel like a cathedral of light descended slowly through the clouds, its silver hull shimmering with fractal patterns that pulsed like a heartbeat. People across New Lagos looked up, mesmerized. It wasn't the first alien ship to visit Earth, but this one felt different. It wasn't diplomatic, it was personal. Tariq met Darius outside the landing terminal, his face tight with disbelief. "You realize this ain't some prank show, right? That woman could read your mind and break it in half." Darius adjusted his collar. "Then I'll just have to think good thoughts." "You're impossible," Tariq said, shaking his head. "Man, your mama would have whipped you for less." "She believed in standing proud," Darius replied, "and I'm not about to bow now." Inside the terminal, the air shimmered as the Seraphai delegation materialized, beings of impossible symmetry, eyes gleaming with colors beyond the human spectrum. When Princess Zirathia stepped forward, the atmosphere itself seemed to hold its breath. Her presence radiated precision, a kind of beauty too exact to be comforting. She wore no jewelry, only a robe that shifted hue with her mood, the fabric alive with tiny waves of light. "Darius Cole," she said, her voice reverberating directly in his mind. "You are smaller than I expected." He smiled faintly. "And you're colder than I hoped." A ripple of tension passed through her attendants, but Zirathia's lips curved in something close to amusement. "Your humor is crude, but it intrigues me. Tell me, human, why did you do it?" "Because you said we were nothing," Darius replied. "I wanted to prove you wrong." Her expression softened, just a flicker, then vanished. "We shall see." The agreement ceremony was brief, clinical. No vows of love, no promises of devotion, just an exchange of energy seals, binding them by law and broadcast across the galaxy. The Seraphai saw it as entertainment. Humans saw it as history. Outside, crowds chanted his name. Darius felt none of their excitement. His gaze stayed fixed on the princess, trying to read the truth behind her perfect composure. Later in the observation lounge, she stood before the glass wall, watching Earth's horizon bleed into gold. "Your planet is loud," she said. "So many voices at once. It is chaotic." "That's life," Darius replied. "Noise means we're still breathing." She turned slightly, her silver eyes unreadable. "You think defiance is strength, but chaos leads to decay." "Maybe," he said, "but without chaos there's no change." For the first time she looked directly at him, not as a subject, but as something unknown. "You truly believe your species has value?" "I don't just believe it," he said. "I live it." There was silence. Only the hum of the ship filled the air. Then softly she said, "You fascinate me, Darius Cole. Perhaps this will not be as tedious as I imagined." He didn't know whether to take that as a warning or a promise. As night fell over the city, the streets filled with celebration. Yet beneath the lights and music, a quiet unease lingered. The people of Earth had invited something vast and ancient into their world, and one man's pride had opened the door. Darius stood alone at the balcony, watching the stars shimmer above the lagoon. Tomorrow, he would marry a being who didn't believe in love. And deep down, a question burned in him. What if she was right? He whispered to the sky, "We'll see who changes who." And the stars, distant and silent, gave no answer. The day of the ceremony dawned under twin suns. Even filtered through the atmospheric shields, their light painted New Lagos in gold and violet. The air shimmered with energy as millions watched through global feeds. To the Seraphi, this was a diplomatic spectacle. To humanity, it was a statement of pride. But to Darius Cole, standing inside the Cathedral of Convergence, it felt like standing at the edge of a storm. The venue had been constructed overnight, a marvel of Seraphai engineering fused with human craftsmanship. Crystal spires rose from the ground like frozen lightning, while woven fabrics from earth fluttered between them, dyed in deep earth tones, each thread a tribute to ancestral memory. The drums of the Yoruba Guild pulsed from below, blending with the harmonic hum of alien instruments that resonated in the bones rather than the ears. Darius stood at the center, wearing a black suit laced with nanofibers that shimmered like oil in water. Beside him, Zerathia was draped in a gown made of living silk that shifted color with each heartbeat. Silver to blue, then violet when she looked at him. Her expression was unreadable, her posture regal, untouched by emotion. When the officiator raised the ceremonial sigil, a hush fell across the gathering. Darius could feel the weight of two worlds pressing down. He spoke first, his voice clear, deliberate. "I come as one born of earth, descendant of those who were bound but never broken. I stand here free. And I choose." Murmurs rippled through the crowd, the human side cheering softly, the Seraphi watching in disapproval. Zerathia's response was telepathic, her voice echoing inside every mind present. "I accept this union, not for affection, but for understanding. Let this joining reveal the limits of both our kinds." Their energy seals ignited, intertwining in mid-air like twin comets colliding. Light flared and the union was sealed. The crowd erupted, humans chanting his name, Seraphi observing in cold silence. Yet beneath the roar, Darius felt a strange hollowness. Tariq approached afterward, his grin forced. "You did it, man. Married an alien princess. You're the talk of the stars." Darius nodded, eyes fixed on Zerathia as she walked ahead, her attendants surrounding her like shadows. "Feels more like I just stepped into something I don't understand." "You always do," Tariq said. "That's your thing." Later, at the reception chamber, alien dignitaries mingled uneasily with Earth's finest. The air was thick with translation drones whispering in dozens of tongues. A jazz ensemble played beside a Seraphi harmonic field, the sounds merging into something haunting and beautiful. Darius's mother's sister, Aunt Kemi, approached him quietly. "Your father would have been proud," she said. "But pride alone won't carry a marriage, my son. Remember that." He smiled faintly. "I don't even know if she believes in marriage." "Then teach her what it means," Kemi replied. "That's what our people do. We teach the world to feel." Across the room, Zerathia stood surrounded by diplomats, her movements precise, her face a mask of serenity. Yet Darius noticed her eyes linger on the music, just for a moment, as if trying to comprehend rhythm itself. When their gazes met, she crossed the distance between them. "Your customs are intense," she said softly. "This celebration of sound and movement, it distracts from purpose." "It is the purpose," Darius said. "We celebrate to remember we're alive." She studied him for a long moment. "That is a dangerous philosophy. Life without control leads to ruin." "Maybe," he said. "But without feeling, it's not life at all." Something flickered in her expression, doubt perhaps or recognition, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared. She inclined her head slightly. "We will see, human." The orchestra swelled, the guests cheered. And though every protocol was fulfilled, Darius felt no triumph, only the quiet pulse of uncertainty beneath his ribs. As the night deepened, he looked up through the transparent dome at the stars burning above. Somewhere among them, he thought, lay the truth of what he had just done. The wedding of dissonance was complete, but the harmony had yet to begin. The celebration ended long after midnight, leaving echoes of music and light hanging in the air. The guests dispersed, and the grand chamber of the Seraphi vessel fell silent. Darius followed the attendants through corridors of glowing crystal until they reached the quarters designated for the Union Rite. He hesitated at the threshold. Beyond the door, nothing was familiar. No warmth, no scent of home, only a sterile perfection that made him feel smaller than ever. Zerathia stood at the far end of the room, gazing through a transparent wall at the stars beyond. The silver markings along her arms pulsed faintly, like veins of liquid light. When she spoke, her voice brushed against his mind rather than his ears. "Do you fear me, human?" Darius answered softly. "Should I?" She turned to face him. "Among my kind, fear is not weakness. It is understanding one's place." He met her gaze without flinching. "Then maybe that's the difference between us. I don't believe in knowing my place." Her expression didn't change, but her aura shifted, like a ripple of cool air. You believe yourself brave, yet you do not comprehend what this night means. To the Seraphi, a union is a merging of essence. You will not touch me. You will open your mind, and I will see you, all of you. The words struck something deep within him. And if you don't like what you see, then I will end it, she said simply. He took a slow breath. All right. Let's see who survives the truth. She stepped closer, lifting her hand to his forehead. The touch was both electric and freezing. Suddenly the room dissolved into a wash of light. Thoughts, memories, emotions, everything that was Darius spilled open. The streets of old Lagos, the scent of fried plantain, the hum of his mother's laughter, the weight of failure, of loss, of love, never returned. It all flowed between them like a current too strong to fight. Zerathia gasped. For the first time her composure cracked. So much pain, she whispered, trembling. So much sound inside you. It's life, he said through gritted teeth, messy, loud, real. She staggered back as though struck. You carry chaos as if it was sacred. To us, it is. For a moment, neither spoke. The bond between them still shimmered, fragile but alive. She stared at him with a mix of awe and confusion. We suppress emotion to maintain clarity, she said quietly. But your heart, it burns like a storm. How do you survive it? He gave a faint smile. We don't survive it. We live through it. Something inside her shifted then. Her light dimmed, her voice no longer cold, but trembling. You pity me. No, he said, stepping closer. I see you. A single tear slipped from her eye, luminous and strange, evaporating before it reached her chin. Her people considered tears primitive, a flaw of evolution long discarded, but she couldn't stop it. Your mind is filled with imperfections, she whispered, and yet it feels whole. He looked at her with quiet reverence. Maybe perfection isn't what you think it is. The silence that followed was heavy, charged with something neither could name. When she finally spoke again, her voice was barely a breath. You were supposed to be simple, predictable, but you are none of these things. He met her gaze. Welcome to humanity. She closed her eyes, her breathing shallow. For the first time in her life, Princess Zerathia of Seraphi didn't know what to say. The connection between them flickered once more before fading, leaving both shaken. When Darius finally turned to leave, she whispered behind him, You have changed something in me. He paused at the door but didn't look back. Maybe that's what this marriage is for. Behind him, she stood alone, trembling beneath the weight of feelings her people had forgotten how to feel, and for the first time the alien princess wept. When Darius awoke, the light in the room was softer, filtered through the crystalline walls. The silence felt heavier than the night before. The connection they had shared, the storm of thoughts, the raw exposure of emotion, was gone, leaving only an ache he couldn't name. Across the chamber, Zerathia sat motionless, her silver skin dimmed to a pale hue. She turned as he stirred. Do all humans dream so loudly? Darius rubbed his eyes. Maybe. Depends on what we're trying to forget. Her gaze lingered on him, curious but guarded. You carry pain as though it were sacred. I do not understand. You don't have to, he said. But you felt it. Last night you felt something. Zerathia's lips tightened. It was intrusive. Your mind is a labyrinth without order. I saw memories that should not exist in a civilized being. Maybe civilization isn't about order, Darius said quietly. Maybe it's about surviving the mess. Her expression flickered, annoyance, confusion, maybe even regret, but she said nothing. The tension between them hung like static. Outside their quarters, the news had already spread. Across human networks and alien channels, the wedding night had become legend. Every whisper, every rumor painted a different story. Some said the princess had fainted under human emotion. Others claimed Darius had been psychically overpowered. But the truth belonged only to them, and neither was ready to speak it. A discreet tone sounded from the wall. The image of Ambassador Ngala appeared, his voice calm but strained. "Darius, you've got the whole coalition asking what in God's name you did. The Seraphi Council's threatening sanctions. They claim the Union compromised her neural integrity." Darius frowned. "She's fine." Zerathia's eyes narrowed. "Am I?" He ignored her. "Tell them I'll handle it." The ambassador sighed. "You'd better, brother. The world's watching. Don't let them make you the villain." The transmission ended. Darius turned to Zerathia. "They think I hurt you." "Perhaps you did," she replied softly. "You forced me to feel what your kind calls empathy. It is unsettling." "You call that pain. We call it connection." She rose to her feet, her form glowing faintly as her emotions fluctuated. "Connection breeds weakness. Empathy clouds judgment. My people evolved beyond such chaos for a reason." "And yet," Darius said, "you cried." The words hit her like a blade. She stiffened. "That was a malfunction. Nothing more." He stepped closer, searching her face. "You can lie to them, but not to yourself." Her composure cracked for just a heartbeat. Then she turned away, voice low. "You mistake curiosity for compassion, human. Do not confuse the two." He wanted to answer, but the truth pressed against his ribs like stone. Whatever had happened between them, it had left a mark on both sides, and neither knew what to do with it. Later that day, Darius walked through the embassy corridors, reporters shouting questions, drones hovering like insects. "Mr. Cole, is the marriage political? Are you being used by the Federation?" He pushed through without replying. Every camera lens felt like a weapon, dissecting him for the galaxy to see. He thought of his mother's faith, his people's songs, and wondered what they would say about love that crossed species, culture, and pride. That night, when he returned to their quarters, Zerathia was gone. Only a single mark glowed faintly on the floor, a trace of her presence. The Seraphi attendants informed him she had entered isolation for mental recalibration. He stood in the empty room for a long time, the hum of alien machinery echoing in his chest. For the first time since the wedding, Darius felt something colder than her silence. Doubt. And though he didn't know it yet, that doubt was about to shake not just his marriage, but the fragile alliance between their worlds. The storm hit faster than Darius could react. Within 24 hours, every major network across the galaxy was dissecting his marriage. News anchors debated whether a human could truly bond with a Seraphi. Commentators speculated about the psychic contamination of their union, and in New Lagos, protesters filled the streets, some celebrating him as a hero, others branding him a traitor. Darius watched from the embassy balcony, the noise below rising like a pulse. Hollow screens projected his face above the crowd, split between angel and devil. He could almost feel the weight of billions of opinions pressing against his chest. Tariq's voice broke through the static of his communicator. "Man, they're tearing you apart on every channel. Seraphi Council says you violated her consciousness. You need to speak up." Darius sighed. "If I defend myself, it looks like guilt. If I stay silent, it looks like shame. Either way, they win." "You think too much, bro," Tariq said. "Just tell your truth. That's all you ever had anyway." But Darius wasn't sure truth mattered anymore, not in a galaxy built on appearances. The Seraphi media portrayed him as reckless, primitive, a man driven by emotion instead of logic. They said he polluted their princess's mind with human chaos. Some even demanded his imprisonment. The United Earth Coalition issued statements of concern, but avoided taking a side. To them, he was both an icon and a liability. Inside the embassy, Darius faced the council liaison, a woman whose every gesture was polished diplomacy. "You've ignited an interstellar scandal," she said coldly. "The Seraphi are threatening to withdraw from the coalition treaty. Billions of credits, decades of peace, jeopardized by your marriage experiment." "It's not an experiment," Darius said. "It's a promise." She gave a humorless smile. "Then pray it doesn't explode." When she left, he found himself alone in the chamber again. For the first time, he felt the full cost of what he had done. He had wanted to prove humanity's worth, but now it seemed the entire galaxy saw only his pride. That evening, Aunt Kemi called from Earth. Her image shimmered in warm light, her voice a balm to the storm around him. "You look tired, my son," she said. "Too many eyes on you." He nodded. "They see what they want to see. I tried to show them something real, and they turned it into politics." Kemi leaned closer to the camera, her eyes deep with quiet wisdom. "That's what happens when truth scares people. They twist it until it feels safe. But listen to me, Darius. You are not fighting for their approval. You're fighting for your soul. Don't let them take that from you." He smiled faintly. "You always make it sound simple." "It is simple," she said, "not easy." Her image faded, leaving behind a silence filled with resolve. Later that night, Darius found himself walking through the city alone. The lights of New Lagos reflected off the rain-soaked streets, and somewhere music played, an old Earth tune, slow and aching. People glanced at him but didn't approach. Some recognized him. Others only saw the symbol the media had made him into. He thought of Zirathea, still in isolation aboard her vessel. Part of him wanted to reach out through the psychic link they had shared, but he resisted. She needed space. And maybe, he realized, so did he. Still, as he looked up at the distant glow of her ship hovering above the city, he whispered, "You're not the only one they're afraid of." The rain fell harder, the streets humming with power and tension. Somewhere in the chaos, humanity was watching its reflection and deciding what kind of species it wanted to be. And as the night deepened, Darius knew one truth. The war wasn't fought with weapons or words anymore. It was fought with perception, and he was losing it. The days blurred together. Between political hearings and hostile broadcasts, Darius barely slept. Each morning brought new reports from Seraphai officials questioning his stability, his motives, even his humanity. Yet through the noise, one question haunted him most. What if they were right? What if he really was a fool who reached too far? Then came the message. A single line, encoded in Seraphai resonance. "Meet me where the noise fades." No signature, but he knew who it was. Zirathea. He followed the signal to an old research outpost hovering over the Atlantic, once used to study quantum frequencies. Inside, the walls still hummed with residual energy, a mix of Earth's analog grit and alien precision. She stood at the center, her form dimmer than before, as if her light had thinned from the strain. "You shouldn't be here," Darius said quietly. "They'll call it treason." "I no longer care what they call it," she replied. "I needed to understand." "Understand what?" "Why your thoughts will not leave my mind." Her voice trembled, not with fear, but with something closer to frustration. She stepped closer, her silver eyes reflecting the faint blue glow of the room. "Since the bonding, I have felt resonance, patterns that do not belong to me, sounds I cannot silence." Darius exhaled slowly. "That's music." "You're hearing music." "Music," she repeated, the word foreign on her tongue. "It is illogical, chaotic, yet it moves through me." He smiled faintly. "Yeah, it does that. It's how we make sense of the mess." She tilted her head. "Teach me." It wasn't a command, it was a plea. Darius nodded. He activated the console, pulling up an old Yoruba rhythm file he'd recorded years ago. Hand drums, syncopated heartbeats that pulsed with life. The sound filled the chamber, wrapping around them like invisible warmth. Zirathea flinched at first, her body tense, then her expression softened as the vibration found her. "What is its purpose?" she asked. "To remind us we're still alive," Darius said. "Every beat means we made it one more moment." She closed her eyes. "It feels like memory, like something ancient speaking through time." Darius stepped beside her, adjusting the frequency generator to sync with her neural pattern. The sound changed, deepened, the rhythm aligning with her pulse. The connection between them reignited. Different this time. Not forced, not invasive. Mutual. Her voice entered his thoughts, not as intrusion but invitation. "You see sound as color. You build emotion from rhythm." And you translate emotion into logic, he thought back. Maybe we're not so different after all. Her lips curved, barely visible. You mistake difference for division. The bridge between them expanded, light blooming from the console like liquid fire. For the first time, Darius felt her world, the sterile perfection, the silence they worshipped. And she felt his, the pulse of drums, laughter through struggle, the strength carried in grief. She gasped. Your people endure pain as art. He nodded. That's how we survive. When the energy faded, both of them stood trembling, breathing in sync. The air crackled with something raw and new. Zerathia looked at him with wide eyes. You built this device to connect minds. No, Darius said softly. I built it to connect hearts. She studied him, her voice low. My people will not understand this. Then maybe it's time they learned. Silence fell again, but it wasn't empty anymore. Between them lingered a harmony neither could define, a fragile bridge built from sound, defiance, and something dangerously close to affection. Zerathia turned toward the window, the reflection of Earth shimmering below. Your planet sings even in darkness, she said. And so do you, Darius whispered. For the first time since their marriage, she didn't correct him. The fragile harmony between them didn't last. Word of their secret meeting spread faster than Darius expected. Within days, the Seraphai Council accused him of tampering with royal consciousness. Headlines flared across both worlds. Human husband hacks princess's mind. The accusation was a lie, but it was powerful. Darius stood in the embassy chamber, surrounded by flashing holoscreens filled with condemnation. Even the Earth Coalition demanded explanations. He could feel the noose tightening around his reputation. Tariq's voice came through the comm line, sharp with anger. They're framing you, man. You think they'll let some Earthborn engineer rewrite their royal code? I didn't rewrite anything, Darius said. I just showed her music. Then they'll turn that music into a weapon, Tariq warned. You know how politics works. They can't afford to let her feel. Darius ended the call and leaned against the cold wall. The city lights of New Lagos shimmered through the window, distant and indifferent. Every sound, the hum of engines, the distant rhythm of life, felt like it was slipping away from him. He didn't notice Zerathia enter until her voice brushed against his thoughts. They know. He turned. Her glow had dimmed again and shadows lingered under her eyes. I guessed as much. They demand I return home for purification. Purification, Darius repeated bitterly. That's what they call erasing what they don't understand. She hesitated. You should not have come so close. You've made yourself a target. He laughed without humor. You think I care about that now? Her voice softened. You should. Humans are fragile. Maybe. But we're not cowards. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. Tell me something. Did you know about this before it happened? She blinked, unreadable. What do you mean? The dare, he said. Was this whole thing, us, part of their game? Her silence was answer enough. Darius felt the air leave his lungs. You knew. It was not meant to go this far, she whispered. They wanted to humiliate you. To prove human emotion was an infection that could not survive among us. And you agreed, he said flatly. I obeyed. The words sliced through him. Every defense he'd built, every reason he'd told himself this was destiny, it cracked all at once. So I was the experiment. Her gaze fell. You were never meant to be hurt. He laughed, a hollow sound. That's the thing about humans, Princess. We feel hurt comes with the package. She looked away, her voice trembling. Something changed. You changed me. They see it, and now they fear it. Darius clenched his fists, the betrayal mixing with something deeper. Grief. I thought you were different. I am, she said, and for the first time there was pain in her tone. Do you not see? That is why they will destroy me if I stay. He turned toward the window. Then maybe we should both stop running. She stepped closer, almost touching him. If you defy them, they will come for you too. Humanity cannot protect you from the Seraphai. Maybe not, Darius said, but we've fought worse than gods before. She stared at him, torn between fear and admiration. "You would risk everything for me." He met her eyes. "Not for you, for what we could be." For a moment, neither moved. The sound of the city faded into a single pulse, the echo of two hearts caught between love and ruin. Then the alarm shattered it. A deep vibration rippled through the floor as the embassy lights turned crimson. A voice blared through the intercom. "Seraphi enforcement vessels inbound, immediate lockdown." Zirathia's eyes widened. "They're here for us." Darius exhaled, steadying himself. "Then we'd better not be here when they land." And as the world above them burned with headlines and judgment, the fugitive husband and his alien wife prepared to vanish into the shadows, together. The night sky burned with streaks of violet light as Seraphi patrol ships descended toward New Lagos. Their arrival wasn't subtle. It was conquest dressed in ceremony. Darius and Zerathia ran through the diplomatic corridors, alarms echoing behind them. Every doorway sealed, every path they knew collapsing under orders of pursuit. "They'll track us," Zerathia said, her voice sharp, breathless. "Their sensors will detect my biosignature anywhere on this planet." "Then we go somewhere they don't care to look," Darius replied. "Somewhere that scares even the Seraphi." She frowned. "You mean the Fringe?" He nodded. "Exactly." The Fringe was a lawless cluster of colonies beyond Federation control, places where humans, hybrids, and forgotten species scraped by on the ruins of progress. It wasn't safe, but safety had stopped being an option the moment they had chosen each other. By the time they reached the hangar, Tariq was already waiting beside a patched-up transport ship. "You're out of your mind," he said. "You know what happens to anyone caught harboring her?" "Yeah," Darius said, climbing aboard. "They disappear." "Guess that's what I'm counting on." Tariq shook his head but followed them inside anyway. "You've always had bad taste in causes." "Just good taste in people," Darius said, glancing toward Zerathia. The engines roared to life, rattling the ship like an old heartbeat. Outside, the Seraphi vessels opened formation, their lights scanning the city like judgment. As Tariq piloted through the chaos, Darius looked out the viewport, his home shrinking into a blur of light and storm clouds. He wondered if he'd ever see it again. When they finally broke orbit, the silence hit hard. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, indifferent to the fugitives running between them. Zerathia sat beside him, her glow faint but steady. "You could have surrendered," she said. "You would have been spared." "And leave you?" he asked. "Not an option." "You don't understand," she said. "The Fringe is poison. It will break you." He smiled faintly. "I've been broken before. We just build ourselves back up different." Her eyes softened, almost imperceptibly. "Humans never stop believing they can rebuild. It's beautiful and foolish." "Story of our species," he said. Hours later, they landed on a forgotten moon orbiting a dying gas giant. The settlement that greeted them was a collage of metal scraps, neon haze, and human persistence. Vendors shouted in mixed dialects, ships coughed smoke, and the air smelled of oil and spice. "This is freedom," Darius said, taking it all in, ugly, loud, and alive. Zerathia scanned the streets, her expression unreadable. "Your kind thrives in chaos." "It's not chaos," he said. "It's survival with style." They found refuge in a workshop run by an old mechanic named Abiola, a woman with dark hands scarred from years of fixing other people's dreams. She didn't ask questions. When Darius offered payment, she waved it off. "You brought trouble, but you brought story too," she said. "That's worth something out here." In the days that followed, Darius worked beside her repairing broken drones and salvaged tech. He taught Zerathia how to use human tools, how to balance fragility with force. At first, she struggled, her precision clashing with imperfection. But slowly she began to adapt, learning that even mistakes had rhythm. One evening, as neon lights flickered over the workshop, she watched Darius fix a power relay with bare hands. "You build beauty out of broken things," she murmured. He looked up, meeting her gaze. "That's what humans do." She hesitated before answering. "Then perhaps I was wrong about you." He smiled. You were wrong about us. For the first time she smiled back, small, uncertain, but real. Outside, the moon's thin atmosphere shimmered with distant storms. Inside, for a fleeting moment, peace existed between two beings who had every reason to hate and every reason to hope. But beyond the horizon, unseen ships moved through the void, following the echo of their defiance. Life in the fringe moved to its own rhythm, one built from scarcity, barter, and stubborn hope. Days blended into nights marked by neon storms that rolled across the colony's sky. Darius adapted quickly, his hands always busy repairing the broken. Power cells, filtration units, communications relays. He fixed them all. Word spread fast. The human fugitive who could make dead machines breathe again. Zerathia watched him from the corner of the workshop, fascinated. He worked without precision tools or schematics, guided instead by instinct and rhythm. You build by feeling, she said one evening, without calculation, without certainty. That's how it works, Darius replied, tightening a bolt. You learn to trust the noise. Sometimes the machine tells you what it needs if you listen long enough. Machines do not speak. He smiled. Everything speaks. Most people just forget how to listen. Over time, she began to help. At first, she broke more than she fixed. Her hands moved too carefully, as if the world might shatter under her touch. But slowly, she learned. When a circuit sparked, she didn't flinch anymore. When a system hummed back to life, she smiled faintly, surprised by her own success. At night, the two sat outside the workshop, watching the horizon shimmer under the dying sun. Darius would hum quietly, half melody, half memory. The air smelled of metal and smoke, but somehow it felt like peace. Your people, Zerathia said one evening, they celebrate even when surrounded by decay. It's what we do, Darius said. You can't mourn forever. Sometimes the only way to live is to sing about the pain. She looked at him, curiosity flickering in her eyes. You use music as medicine. He nodded. Back on Earth, my mom used to say the same thing. Every song was a story about surviving something that should have broken us. Humans have always been broken, she said softly. Yeah, he replied. But we keep getting back up. That's the trick. Her gaze drifted toward the settlement below, the children running through the dust, the vendors laughing over flickering lamps. They are loud, she murmured, but alive. Something in her voice made him glance over. You sound almost like you admire them. She hesitated. Perhaps I do. When I was a child, I was told emotion was disease, that it clouded reason. But now, her voice faltered. Now I wonder if reason without emotion is a kind of death. Darius smiled. Welcome to being human. They fell silent, but it wasn't an empty quiet. It was the kind that settled between two people learning to breathe the same air. Later that week, the colony held a small gathering. Music filled the air, rough and imperfect, but full of soul. Darius convinced Zerathia to join. She resisted at first, then let herself be drawn in. He taught her how to move to the rhythm, not in steps, but in feeling. Her body followed awkwardly, then fluidly, until she was laughing, a sound light and uncertain, like rain on metal. When the song ended, she whispered, I have never felt this before. Freedom? Darius asked. No, she said. Belonging. He studied her face under the flickering lights. That's all we've ever wanted, to belong. That night, as the colony slept, Zerathia sat alone, staring at her reflection in a piece of cracked glass. The alien princess who once believed in perfection now looked at herself and saw imperfection and found it beautiful. She thought of Darius, of his stubborn faith in broken things. A strange warmth filled her chest. Maybe this was what humanity truly was. Not power, not technology, but the ability to find meaning in pain. Outside, thunder rolled across the alien sky, and somewhere deep inside her, the last remnants of her old world began to fall away, piece by fragile piece. The peace they'd built in the fringe lasted 3 months. It ended the morning the sky turned gold. Darius was outside repairing a broken relay tower when the first flash appeared, an expanding ripple that made the ground tremble. He looked up and froze. Hanging above the horizon were the unmistakable silhouettes of Seraphite dreadnoughts, their hulls reflecting sunlight like polished blades. "They found us," he whispered. Within minutes, the colony erupted in chaos. Traders fled to their ships, scavengers vanished into tunnels, and every comm channel filled with static warnings. When Zerathia stepped out of the workshop, her face was pale with dread. "They came for me," she said, "and for you." "They won't take either of us," Darius replied, his voice low but steady. The Seraphi fleet broadcast its demand across every frequency. Her voice spoke in cold harmony. "Return the royal heir or this settlement will be purged." Darius felt a surge of anger rise in his chest. "Purged," he repeated. "They talk about life like it's data to be deleted." Zerathia turned toward him. "You cannot fight them. They are gods to your people." "Then it's time they met one of ours," he said. He stepped forward, activating the old transmitter Abiola had salvaged weeks earlier. "Patch me through," he told Tariq, who had already begun rerouting power. "I'm talking to them." "Are you insane?" Tariq shouted. "They'll trace the signal." "Let them," Darius said. The static cleared and his voice echoed through open space, carried across the Seraphi network. "This is Darius Cole of New Lagos. You want her, come get her. But understand this. You can't erase what she's learned. You can't unsee what she's seen." The response came instantly, a chorus of alien disapproval. "Human insolence knows no bounds. You have infected the royal mind with emotional disorder." Darius laughed, though his heart pounded in his chest. "So you call it disorder. We call it being alive." Zerathia stared at him, something fierce and unspoken growing behind her eyes. The alien fleet descended lower, the pressure in the air thickening. Abiola's workshop shuddered as a low-frequency pulse rippled through the atmosphere. "They're charging their disruptors," Tariq said. "If they fire, this whole moon's gone." Darius clenched his jaw. "Then we end this before they do." He turned to Zerathia. "They won't stop until you make them listen. Not me. You." She hesitated, torn between fear and duty. "They will not hear me. They will see weakness." "Then show them strength," Darius said, "the kind they forgot." She stepped toward the transmitter, her light brightening until the air vibrated. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of two worlds. "I am Princess Zerathia of the Seraphi. I have seen humanity, and they are not what we believed. They feel, they build, they forgive. And if that is weakness, then perhaps it is the strength we've lost." A long silence followed. The fleet hovered above the colony, their energy fields flickering. Then the reply came, colder than before. "Your defiance condemns you. You are no longer of the Seraphi." Zerathia closed her eyes. "So be it." The transmission cut. The ships did not fire. Instead, they turned slowly, rising into the upper atmosphere, before vanishing into light. The colony erupted in cheers, but Darius remained silent, watching the sky fade back to blue. "They'll be back," he said. Zerathia nodded. "Not for me. For what I've become." He looked at her, seeing both the alien princess and the woman who had chosen to stand beside him. "Then we'll be ready." She reached for his hand. "You taught me something, Darius Cole. Strength isn't silence. It's choosing to speak even when no one wants to listen." And as the last echoes of the fleet's engines faded, humanity had spoken, and for once, the stars had listened back. The aftermath of the confrontation spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Seraphi Council declared Zerathia exiled, stripping her of title and legacy. On Earth, the United Coalition called for an inquiry into Darius's reckless diplomacy. To both sides, they had become symbols of disobedience, too human for aliens, too alien for humans. But to Darius and Zerathia, none of that mattered anymore. What mattered was survival. The colony that had once sheltered them now turned into a fortress of whispers. Some called them heroes, others a curse that would draw destruction. Darius spent his days reinforcing defenses, repairing broken systems, trying to quiet the unease clawing at his chest. He'd always believed logic could solve anything, but this wasn't a problem to be engineered. It was a storm of hearts and politics, and he stood at its center. One night, as thunder rolled across the sky, Zirathia approached him. Her glow had dimmed to a soft amber. "They are gathering," she said. "The Seraphite fleet prepares for tribunal. They intend to make an example of us." He didn't look up from the console. "Then we'll show them what an example really looks like." Her tone softened. "Darius, defiance has its limits." He met her eyes. "So does fear." Silence stretched between them. Outside lightning flashed, painting their faces in alternating gold and shadow. Zirathia spoke again, her voice lower now. "When I first met you, I saw arrogance. Now I see faith. I envy it." "Faith isn't what you think," he said. "It's not certainty. It's choosing to move even when you're terrified." She stepped closer. "And if that movement leads to death, then at least it means we lived for something." The words lingered between them, fragile and honest. Days later, the summons came. A holographic envoy materialized above the colony, its form shifting with cosmic light. "By decree of the Seraphite Tribunal, you are ordered to surrender for judgment. Resistance will ensure annihilation." Darius turned off the transmission. "Guess we're going to court." At the tribunal, the chamber glowed with alien luminescence, thousands of Seraphi watching in cold silence. Darius stood beside Zirathia, hands bound, his mind racing. He had never felt smaller. The lead arbiter's voice echoed through the hall. "Human Darius Cole, you have contaminated royal consciousness with irrational emotion. How do you plead?" Darius met their gaze. "I don't plead, I explain." Laughter rippled through the council, metallic and cruel. But Zirathia's eyes burned with pride. He continued, "You think emotion is weakness, you've spent millennia erasing it. But look at what it cost you: connection, compassion, truth. You built perfection and forgot how to live inside it." The arbiter raised a hand. "You speak of chaos." "I speak of balance," Darius said. "We feel pain, but we heal. We make mistakes, but we learn. That's what makes us human, and it's what could make you whole again." For a moment no one spoke. Then Zirathia stepped forward, unbound, her voice rising like a current of light. "He is right. I have seen your flaw. You call it order, but it is stagnation. I loved your silence once, but now I hear the music of chaos, and I cannot unhear it." Gasps filled the chamber. The arbiter's tone hardened. "You renounce your own kind?" "I renounce their blindness," she said, "and claim my sight." Energy surged through the chamber as her power flared. The neural bonds that once connected her to the Seraphite mind network shattered. The shockwave rippled outward, severing the link between her and the Empire. The tribunal collapsed into chaos. Guards shouted, systems overloaded, and Darius pulled her close as alarms blared. "What did you just do?" he shouted over the roar. She smiled faintly. "I gave them what they fear most: freedom." Outside, the Seraphite Empire trembled, and for the first time in centuries, its perfect silence cracked. The tribunal chamber burned with fractured light as systems failed. Sparks rained from the ceiling, while the echoes of alarm reverberated through the grand hall. Darius shielded Zirathia as Seraphi guards advanced, their armor glowing with lethal precision. He could feel the heat from their plasma lances against his skin. "Don't fight them," Zirathia whispered. "If you fall here, everything we've done will mean nothing." "I'm not letting them take you," Darius said through clenched teeth. Her eyes softened. "Then let them take us. I will make the choice they never expected." Before he could answer, she raised her hands and the air shifted. The psychic pressure crushed through the chamber, freezing the guards mid-step. Her light expanded, bright and raw, pulsing like a heartbeat. "Enough!" her voice thundered, not in words but through thought that pierced every mind in the room. The Seraphi fell silent, their movements halted by awe and fear. "I reject the crown," she declared. "I reject the chains of silence that built it. I am no longer your princess. I am what you fear most, a creature who feels. Her glow flared until even the council members covered their eyes. Darius watched as the mark of royalty on her forehead, once a symbol of divine lineage, split and vanished in a cascade of light. She turned to him, trembling but resolute. You gave me this courage. Now let me give it back to you. He stepped forward, heart hammering. You don't have to do this. I do, she said. For us to live, I must die as what they made me. He reached for her hand, his voice breaking. If you go, I go too. Her smile was sad, luminous. Then, we will both live differently. She pressed her palm against his chest, energy flowing into him, memories, feelings, the song of her people, the rhythm of the stars. Take this, she whispered. Carry me in your mind, where no empire can reach. The chamber trembled as the power transfer began. Darius gasped as visions flooded him, her childhood among crystalline towers, her loneliness in perfect silence, her wonder the first time she heard music. Every emotion she had ever suppressed rushed through him in waves until he could hardly breathe. Stop, he said. You'll burn yourself out. Her eyes glowed brighter. Then let me burn, let me be the fire that lights what's next. The guards broke free of their paralysis, shouting commands. Energy blasts tore through the room. Darius dove forward, pulling her close. We run together. But she was already fading. Her voice echoed faintly in his mind. You'll see me again, in every note, in every heartbeat. And then, in one final surge of light, she unleashed the energy outward. The wave rippled through the tribunal, disabling every weapon, every machine, every mind linked to the Seraphine network. Silence fell. Where Zerathia had stood, only a faint shimmer of golden dust remained. Darius collapsed to his knees. The air felt empty, stripped of gravity. He could still feel her inside him, echoes of warmth and memory, but she was gone. Truly gone. When the guards surrounded him, he didn't resist. Do what you have to, he said quietly. You can't punish what you don't understand. They dragged him from the ruins of the hall, through corridors filled with the remnants of shattered perfection. Somewhere behind him, the Seraphi Empire was breaking, not from war but from truth. Later, locked in a containment cell aboard the transport vessel, Darius stared out at the endless black of space. His reflection in the glass looked hollow, but when he closed his eyes, he heard it. The faintest echo of her song pulsing with life. She had given him everything. And in doing so, she had changed the fate of two species forever. 5 years passed. The universe had changed, though not in the way the Federation expected. The Seraphi Empire fractured, its colonies rebelling against centuries of sterile order. Across the human systems, stories of the princess who wept and the man who defied gods became legend, told in whispers, in songs, and in the hum of engines that carried dreamers beyond the old boundaries. Darius Cole lived quietly now, far from the centers of power. The colony of New Lagos had grown into something new, a blend of Earth and the stars, where humans and Seraphi outcasts worked side by side. The air shimmered with colors from alien flora, and the streets pulsed with music built from two cultures learning to speak the same rhythm. He walked through the marketplace one morning, his coat dusted with the red soil of the rebuilt settlement. Vendors greeted him by name, some with reverence, others with simple affection. To them, he was no longer the man who challenged empires. He was the one who built bridges from ruins. Abiola still ran her workshop, grey hair streaked with copper light. "You look tired, Darius," she said as he handed her a repaired data core. "I've been teaching," he replied. "The students want to understand empathy tech. They think if they can feel what others feel, maybe they can stop hating." She chuckled. "That's the most dangerous invention of all. Understanding." He smiled. "That's why I keep building it." At the edge of the settlement, a research center stood, a shimmering structure of glass and living circuits. Its name, the Bridge Institute. Darius had founded it to continue what Zerathia started, the study of interspecies consciousness, connection through emotion rather than hierarchy. Inside, humans and Seraphi worked together, linked by neural harmonics that allowed them to share brief glimpses of each other's thoughts. Sometimes when Darius entered the lab, he could almost feel her presence again. The technology had been built from fragments of her energy, the last resonance she had left behind. Every time he activated a bridge, a faint melody played through the system, soft, haunting, undeniably hers. That day, as he calibrated a console, a young apprentice approached. Her name was Nyala, a half-seraphy child with skin like burnished copper and eyes that shimmered faintly in low light. "Professor Cole," she said, her tone careful, respectful. "The new neural harmonics are stable, but I heard something when I activated them." "What did you hear?" Darius asked. "A song," she said. "Just for a moment. It felt familiar." Darius's hand trembled slightly as he adjusted the controls. "Describe it." She hesitated. "It wasn't words. More like emotion turned into sound. It made me want to cry, but I didn't know why." He smiled gently. "That's how you know it's real." Nyala tilted her head. "You knew her, didn't you? The princess from the stories." "Yes," he said softly, "but she wasn't the story they tell. She wasn't a myth or a symbol. She was a woman who learned how to feel, and she paid for it with everything she had." Nyala looked down. "Do you ever miss her?" "Every day," Darius said. "But I hear her in every connection we make. Every time two minds touch without fear, she's there." Outside, the wind carried the faint echo of a rhythm, something between a heartbeat and a hymn. Darius closed his eyes, letting it wash over him. Later that evening, as the sun set over New Lagos, he stood on the observation platform. The city glowed below, alive with light and laughter. Above, the stars shimmered like distant memories. He spoke softly to the horizon. "We did it, Zira. You're still teaching them." The wind stirred, and for a fleeting instant, he felt warmth against his chest, like a heartbeat answering his own. He smiled, knowing it wasn't imagination. In the symphony of the New World, her song had become part of the rhythm of humanity itself. Night in New Lagos carried its own kind of music. The hum of airships, the laughter of children, the low rhythm of drums echoing from distant rooftops. It was the sound of life continuing, messy, imperfect, alive. Darius Cole stood on the balcony of the Bridge Institute, hands resting against the cool metal railing, eyes lifted toward the stars. 5 years had passed since Zirathia's light faded, and still he found himself speaking to her. "You'd laugh if you saw this place now," he murmured. "Humans and Seraphi arguing over art instead of war. Progress." A voice behind him broke the quiet. "How you still talk to her?" It was Nyala, older now, her voice steady with the confidence of someone who had found her purpose. Her seraphy eyes shimmered faintly in the dim light. "Every night," Darius said. "She listens, even if she doesn't answer." Nyala stepped beside him. "She left something behind, you know. More than data, more than legend." "I know," he said. "She left us the courage to feel." They stood in silence, watching the auroras that danced across the sky, electromagnetic ribbons left by the energy of the old wars. Below them, the city pulsed with light and sound. The new generation of Seraphi-born children played in the streets, laughing, running, learning how to be something neither species had words for yet. "Do you ever regret it?" Nyala asked softly. "The fight, the loss?" Darius exhaled. "Regret, no. Pain, yes. But it's the same pain that makes us remember who we are." She studied him. "And who are we now?" He smiled faintly. "A work in progress, the best kind of story." Later that night he returned to his quarters. The walls glowed with a faint resonance, energy from the empathy field that powered the Institute. It pulsed in time with his heartbeat, like a distant echo. He activated the central console, loading an old file labeled Seraphi Project, Sequence X. The air shimmered and the room filled with sound, her sound, Zirathia's voice recorded in the final days before her sacrifice. "To feel is to exist beyond form," she said. "To connect is to live beyond time. If you are hearing this, it means the bridge stands. Remember, love is not weakness. It is the proof that chaos can create harmony." Her voice faded, leaving the air heavy and still. Darius stood there, eyes closed, absorbing every word. He could almost feel her presence again, the warmth of her energy, the pulse of her mind within his own. He whispered, "You were right, Zira. They learned." Outside, the sound of distant drums grew louder, joined by instruments both human and alien. The city was alive with celebration, the anniversary of the day the Empathic Accord had been signed, uniting Earth and the newly freed Seraphite colonies. Humanity had not conquered the stars, it had learned to share them. Darius stepped onto the balcony again. Nyala was below, leading a group of students in song. The melody was unfamiliar, a blend of seraphy harmonics and old earth soul, vibrations woven through rhythm and meaning. As the sound rose, Darius felt the same warmth he'd known the night Zir-Athia wept. He spoke softly to the wind. "This is what you wanted, not peace through control, but peace through understanding." For a moment the auroras above shifted, forming a pattern that glowed faintly gold, like her touch. It faded as quickly as it came, but the warmth lingered. Darius smiled. "Still watching, huh?" He closed his eyes and let the music carry him. Humanity's song was imperfect, but it was beautiful, full of cracks, hope, and fire. It spoke of survival, of connection, of two hearts from different worlds who had refused to stay silent. And somewhere beyond the stars, perhaps in the space between thought and memory, a voice whispered back, soft, luminous, eternal. "I never stopped listening. If you felt this journey, the pain, the love, the pride, don't walk away. Stay and listen to the next story. Humanity is still singing,